Warning, all footage is 1 month old, therefore not all information may be correct. You have been warned.
This is the moment where we say like yes. It's hard to draw. Okay. I start to get this.
So here we are. Hi, I'm Peter. Hi, everybody. I'd like to introduce Larson.
Hello.
We yesterday decided we were all going to moderate each other's panels because we thought that was pretty entertaining for ourselves. Andrea's having a small nap, so we have to keep it down. She's just upstairs, like right there. So I'm going to moderate this panel. The very first thing I would like to ask of everyone is please do not photograph the screens during this panel. That includes you live streamers and everybody. No photographing of the screens because the material is not owned by Mitch or me, and so it cannot go out onto the internet. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Sure.
You can look at it. You can look at it with your eyes. You can record it with your eye cameras. I don't mean like eye cameras, no. Your brain cameras. You can use those. So without further ado, because really I'm just eye candy for you. I know.
Don't record him either.
Don't record me either. You cannot use just use your ear cameras. This is all to do. I said without further ado, and then there's a doing. Mitch Larson, everybody.
Hello. So, I did this panel a couple weeks ago at a different convention. It went over pretty well, so I'm going to do it again. And it felt to me like it was incredibly boring, but I got really good feedback, so we'll see what happens. Feel free to jump in at any moment if
I will. If it gets tedious, I'll be here
to liven it up.
We'll play Ninja.
So what I got here is I put it out on Twitter if somebody wanted, or if you guys wanted to see one of the episodes that I wrote broken down from beginning to end. And Cutie Mark Chronicles won by a landslide. So I've got everything. I went back into my emails and found all the old emails and the premises and things like that. And we're just going to walk through some of that now. And there's some interesting stuff that I found, I think. So we'll start here with, this is the premise. So you can see it's one paragraph. And And I didn't write this, I think Lauren wrote it, or Robert Zetti wrote it, who was the story editor. But I'll read it to you now. It says, waking up yet another morning without her cutie mark, Appleseed, who became Apple Bloom, just can't figure out what it is she's doing wrong. So she goes out on a research mission to find out just what you have to do to convince the powers that be that you're ready for your cutie mark. To find out, Appleseed spends a day asking the ponies to relay to her what happened the day they earned their cutie marks in a series of reminiscing flashbacks, some exciting, some funny, and some sentimental. We learned too. So you can see that's basically the episode. Like, that's pretty much what I read. So that's a good premise, because some of them change radically from this to what ends up on screen. And right below, look at this, Apple Bonk season. And this
was
one,
my first one.
That was Peter's first episode. This premise is pretty funny because Applejack goes around hitting the trees with her head. See? Boy, does her head hurt. And of course, standards and practices said no, we can't have kids going around hitting the trees with their heads. So they changed that. So basically what would happen is Lauren and Rob would come up with these ideas, and now Megan, or the writers, whoever, and write them up like this. There's 3 of them on this document. This one, Bring on the Thunder, never got made. But again, look, Appleseed. So there weren't Cutie Mark Crusaders at this point, there was just Appleseed. And that evolved somewhere along the line. So these went in, Cutie Mark Chronicles got approved, and then I get an email saying, your story meeting is set for this date, and here's your premise. So they send me this. So then I go in there. There's one other kind of cool thing there. In this one that got that never got made, the Wonder Bullets were called the Blue Thunders. Okay, so that happens. Then there's an email I sent to Rob and Lauren. And it says Up in Cutie Chronicles. Up in Dismay was the original title of Sonic Rainbow. So this is my first draft of Sonic Rainbow and the outline for Cutie Mark Chronicles, sent them both in at the same time. And it says here, realized when we got home we didn't have a teaser, so I made one up. So the teaser is just the piece before the opening titles. And when we go into the story meeting, we put all these note cards on the wall breaking down all the beats of the episode, and we didn't have a teaser, so I just made one up. And mine was about, I think I do have it, okay, good. So there's that email. So this is my outline that I sent in, and the teaser that I made up was about tightrope walking, which eventually became zip lining. Yeah, see this. You gotta bear with me because I've only done this once. So the teaser is like half a page, then you go into Act 1. And this I thought was kind of interesting. So Scootaloo insists they start with the coolest pony in Ponyville, Rainbow Dash. That wasn't really a thing, like her idolization of Rainbow Dash wasn't really a thing. It sort of evolved in this episode. But because this episode is 6 different stories that don't really have any kind of engine driving it, that's what we went with, was Scootaloo's taking us through the story. She really wants to get to Rainbow Dash and has to deal with all the other 5 along the way. So that became like the structure of the story, was Scootaloo. So in my original, so basically like I go to the story meeting, we break it down, I write this document which is 7 pages, which is really long actually, it's supposed to be about 5 pages. I send this to Lauren and Rob and then I get their notes, rewrite it, send it to Hasbro. But this is my first draft. So here's Applejack's story. And originally she went to Philadelphia. I'll show you a note later where Lauren said that Philadelphia wasn't cosmopolitan enough, so she changed to Manhattan. And what I like to do is try to throw in things that, like, first of all make me laugh and I hope will make somebody else laugh. So like the troughs are enormous and so are the possibilities. What I'm actually doing by putting that in there is trying to distract people from giving me notes. Like, if I can make them laugh, then they won't be thinking about what notes they want to give me. That's my strategy. So I put things in outlines that are never going to be in the show, although I think that actually is in the show, to distract whoever reads it. Okay, so here's her story. Applejack does her best to fit in, disguising her country accent with a posh one and spending all her money on a designer saddle. She even makes some new friends. But the big city lifestyle soon starts to take its toll. As a morning pony used to waking up with the roosters, the late night partying wears her out. She also misses eating plain old country food. All she ever gets in the big city are seared baby carrot peels and a barley and wild oat reduction. That was in my script and they cut it out. So I highlight this paragraph because it's like really lazy writing, and I would never write that now, because you read this and you have no idea what that looks like. So if I was handed this outline from somebody else, I'd be really mad about that, because what does that scene look like, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't do that again. Then we go to Fluttershy, and you can see right in the outline, she had awkwardly long legs. Like, that was all very early on. One of the fun things about going back and looking at this one for me is how close, from the very beginning to what aired is. Like, there's so much in this early draft that ended up on screen, which isn't always the case. It's usually not the case. So yeah, here, Scootaloo interrupts the story to cheer. I was just kind of trying that out, because like I said, that whole thing hadn't been established yet, that she was idolizing Rainbow Dash, but it just kind of worked. So I think that's in the episode too. And then here's the Act 1 break, which is exactly what aired. They zoom out of the starting gate, knocking Fluttershy right out of the clouds. She plummets toward the ground below, like someone who can't swim falling into a pool. Fluttershy flails as she tries to flap her wings, but it's not working. She can't fly. So that's exactly what aired. This is kind of boring, because I'm just showing you, look, this is what you guys saw on TV. See? It's exactly the same. But here's her song, though. So she starts to sing a girly song about all these things she's never sang. The grass and the trees and the streams, and best of all, the animals. The song turns into over-the-top, magical, glittery silliness with Fluttershy. Kaboom, explosion knocks them over. So that's basically what aired too. But the song was intended to be over the top and ridiculous and super girly. And the lyrics were meant to be really bad. Intentional. Okay, then we go down to Rarity. This one is a little bit different. Because Rarity says she always knew she wanted to be a designer, which is why it was so strange that she just couldn't seem to get her cutie mark. She understands what the Crusaders are going through, because she too tried everything. She studied all the top pony designers, she learned their techniques, she practiced day and night, still no cutie mark. So there was a little bit more of, she could relate to them and their desire to get their cutie marks. But because this episode was 22 minutes long and had 6 stories plus a wraparound story, there's stuff like that just had to go. But, you know, it would have been nice. It's like a little bit more depth, that Sweetie Belle's sister completely understands her struggle. I love this. The Big Dumb Rock. It was in the outline. There it was. So like little throwaway lines, like it leads right to a Big Dumb Rock, that actually made it all the way through onto TV, which is cool. So then here, this is Twilight's story now. This was a little bit different. She starts by levitating dragon eggs, Spike perhaps. So I threw that in parentheses, Spike perhaps, in because it was just a connection, like, oh wait, Spike, where should Spike fit in? So I just threw it in, and the question mark was like, hey Lauren and Rob, do you like this idea? We clearly did. And then you can see here Princess Celestia School for Gifted Young Unicorns. Now I've heard that this is an X-Men reference, and there's an uncanny in there. I don't know anything about X-Men, so if it's a reference, it's a completely unintentional reference, or maybe Lauren and Rob kind of finessed it that way, I'm not sure, but there it is. And then the Act 2 break, with their parents, the faculty, and Princess Celestia herself watching, Twilight Sparkle freezes up, disaster. Just like what aired. This episode's a little strange because the act breaks are really fake. There's no drama at all in these act breaks because it's just the nature of the episode. Like when Fluttershy falls out of the clouds, like nobody in the world thinks anything bad's going to happen to her, but it's the way it had to be. So the rock farm I will take credit for. That was my idea. we were just trying to think what's the most opposite thing for Pinky to have grown up doing, and I just threw that out, and they were like, yes, let's do that. So you can see here, there's no laughter, there's no joy, there's no smiling, there are only rocks. And again, I just put that in to distract people, to not give me notes, but it ended up in the actual episode. And then here, like, Pinkie Pie has an unruly bush of a mane. Every morning her mother painfully brushes it out in a vain attempt to control it. Like, that's idea made it through, that her hair was crazy and her sisters are all really flat and boring. But this is just kind of the development of the series from the early time. Like, none of this was in the Bible. It's just like, should we try this? Should we do that? Which is definitely something you can do in season 1. You can still do it now in season 5, but it's much easier in season 1 when you can kind of do whatever you want. So this is something in the outline. At first, Pinky's worried that her plan backfired, but then slowly the corners of their mouths start to turn upward in the faintest hint of smiles, and just like that, by providing joy to others, Pinky's cutie mark appears. I just love what DHX did with that. The way they animated her family, like, having a really hard time smiling and not smiling. They did such a nice job of that, and this is what they read and then turned it into that really cool moment. So this is the end of the episode now. The ponies all hug and share a dorky, heartfelt moment, realizing that they've had a special connection since before they even met. And this is an episode that has a really cheesy lesson, and it's really could be kind of cloying. So we kind of undercut it a little bit. And kind of call out that we know that it's that cloying by saying it's a dorky, heartfelt moment, and then having Scootaloo say, I can't stand this is awful. So you can still have your sappy moral if you undercut it with a joke, basically. And that happens again with Spike at the end. So here's the lesson that was in the outline. Dear Princess, today I learned something about friendship I'd never realized before. Every pony has a special connection with her friends that you may not even know at the time. If you're feeling lonely and you're still searching for your true friends, just look up in the sky. Who knows, even if you haven't met them yet, maybe you and your best friends are all looking at the same rainbow. That's basically what it ended up being on air, but then we undercut that with the Spike saying we need to become so sappy or whatever he said. So that's the outline. So I would send this to Lauren and Rob. They'd read it, they'd give me notes, which I think I have. Yeah, I do. So I sent this in, and this is the email they sent back. Oh no, this is an email I sent to them. After I got their notes, I did my pass, and this is me sending them that. Here's pass 2. So I thought this was really interesting. They gave me the note to call out the main 6 cutie marks throughout the outline. In other words, specify Pinkie Pie gets her balloon cutie mark. But you can see what I wrote here, calling out their cutie marks throughout the outline. I put in what I think they are, but I'm not sure if some of them have changed, so definitely double check this. Like, this is episode 23 of season 1, and we didn't know what the cutie marks were at this point. Something that basic to the show was still being figured out that late into the season. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd forgotten about that. But I'm writing Cutie Mark Chronicles, which is my 3rd episode, and I didn't know what their cutie marks were. And this one here, 4 food groups versus 5. Rarity's play that she was putting on was supposed to be like an elementary school play where there were the food groups, but there wasn't time for that, so that kind of got cut out. They're still dressed like food, but it's not really explained. Okay, so this is what it looks like when I get notes from Rob and Lauren. This is my outline that they sent back to me with all this stuff over here. And the red is me, so it's just deleted. This is all stuff I cut out because now it's zip lining and not tightrope walking. And Rob's comments are in green and Lauren's are in blue. So Rob says this whole scenario is great, but way too dangerous for Hasbro to approve. Standards will see it as imitatable. And Lauren says imitatable too. So we couldn't do that. Then Lauren puts in lion taming. Hey, as long as they're wearing helmets, they can tame lions. So you can see that the way this works is I send it in, Rob does his pass, he says, can we do it with hay underneath, Lauren? And then she responds. So it's sort of a conversation between the 3 of us takes place over on this margin over here, where we're kind of just spitballing ideas because we're all in our own houses, you know, freelance, we're not together, so we have a conversation over here on the side to figure things out. Okay, so this was kind of cool. This is Applejack packs up her things and heads out to live with her aunt and uncle. Lauren's comment was they should be her aunt and uncle orange, apples and oranges, or is that too silly? So it's just an idea she had when she was reading it, and then it became a thing. So now she has an aunt and uncle orange. And Lauren has the power to do that, just like, ooh, an idea. Now it's in the show. Here's her note about Manhattan. Philadelphia doesn't have the same metropolitan association as Manhattan. So I think it was a good note. And then here in the Rainbow Dash, or the Fluttershy story, Lauren gave a comment. You don't need to put this in outline, but it could be funny in contrast to Fluttershy's tallness to make Rainbow Dash unusually small for her age. So she gave her this Napoleon thing. And that, you know, that made it into. Here, she would be calling out what these marks are. That was Rob's note. Okay, so this is part of how the Scootaloo Rainbow Dash thing developed, because Rob says, I had put in Scootaloo's like, we gotta find Rainbow Dash, and Rob says, why will Rainbow Dash's story be any different? And so I added this line here. These stories are all about finding who you really are and boring things like that, things that aren't getting them any closer to cutie marks. That's not what we need. We need action. We need Rainbow Dash. So because of Rob's note, why is the Rainbow Dash's story different? Then I played up Scootaloo's infatuation with Rainbow Dash, and that kind of became a bigger thing of its own. So in response to a note, developed a relationship between the two of them, which is cool. I mean, it's a good show that way, in that these things kind of organically come out, you know, in the process. Oh yeah. So Lauren Faust, ha ha ha. 4 exclamation points. There's no laugh, there's no joy, there's no smiling little rocks. So I wanted to call that one out because Lauren never does that, so I was super sad to see that. And then she said at the end, so here's Lauren's note. If we treat this as narration over some girly, sappy visuals of rainbows, it might be funny to hear out of nowhere Scootaloo all grossed out, smashing the sappiness again, or since Scootaloo is gone, maybe Spike can reiterate her sentiment. So Lauren was saying, let's undercut it. It's really sappy, and we know that, so let's undercut it. So that's the development of the outline. So now I've done all their notes, then that goes back into Hasbro and DHX and the Huff, and they all read it and give their notes and say, go to scripts. So this is an email from Rob to me with just 2 notes, which is absolutely unheard of. 2 notes from Hasbro saying, he says, cleared to go to script right here. So now I can write my script with these 2 notes in mind from Hasbro. And then here's the due date, things like that. So this is a remarkable situation where I can just write the script based off the outline and not really be thinking about how I'm going to address a bunch of notes, because there's only 2. So that was awesome. And then here's the script. This is the first draft of the script. What does that look like over there? Can you read that? Should I make it bigger?
Yeah.
Vamp or something. Sing something.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Do you want it to be even better? That's what this whole panel is about, is making it even better.
20% bigger.
This is as big as it can be. Is that too big? Are you blinded in the back? Can you? So big.
Okay, so here's the script that I would write off the outline. It's 36 pages, which is obscenely long, and I'm sure Jason is like irate and throwing things around the office. I try to shoot for 30 pages. That's 36 is way too long. But again, it's a weird story because there's so much in there. Okay, so in the very first pass of the teaser, you can see it here. Scootaloo is always the thrill seeker. That was always part of her character. And the Cutie Mark Crusaders were pretty new. Like, I showed you the premise, they didn't even exist yet. So they were being figured out along the way. So this is sort of where Scootaloo became the thrill seeker of the group. And I love this because I had a Dickens line here that got cut. I always try to put Dickens in every script.
I played Charles Dickens in a play.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Side note.
Save it for your panel.
Nobody cares.
Okay, so then there's ziplining. Sweetie Belle says, "Oh no, no thumbs." That, you guys remember, was that in the show? No.
We wish it was.
And it's probably, if I had to guess, they cut it. I thought it was funny, but they probably cut it because thumbs are like a human reference, and they didn't want any human references at all. It was maybe too meta for them, so that got cut. Okay, so then here. Yeah, we can start with the coolest Ponyville Rainbow Dash. This thing here, this little box, it's called a script note. And you can just go through and like add your notes. So Lauren and Rob would give me notes through these things. And here's a note, I think from Rob. It says, "I don't think we've ever touched on Scootaloo's hero worship of Rainbow Dash before. Can you billboard this a little bit more?" So you can sort of see the development of that relationship in all of our minds happening as the script develops. It wasn't something that was just, hey, let's have her worship Rainbow Dash. It kind of came out. Oh, you'll love this. This is
Can't wait.
This is a Peter New thing.
Yes.
Where is it?
It's weird.
Okay.
My name is actually right in the script, even though I hadn't been hired yet.
So this is how the Applejack story started. A younger and more heartthrobby version of Big Macintosh.
Part of the sentence.
A younger and more heartthrobby version of Big Macintosh shows a younger and more prissy version of Applejack. Proper technique for apple puffing. She's disinterested, hiding under a parasol to keep the sun away. So I had her, pre-Cutie Mark, I had her basically as Rarity. And she gets her Cutie Mark and becomes Applejack. But this got cut for time.
Actually, it was Ashley Ball. She was like, you can't use the word prissy to describe my characters. It was not.
It's in her contract. But heartthrobby is okay.
Heartthrobby's fine.
So
say the word and get it, because it's not happening in real life. Maybe not Bruce Lee.
What I liked about this was it showed how different Applejack was before she got her Cutie Mark versus after. But again, there just wasn't time for it, so there it goes.